Welcome back to another edition of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. And today we've got for all you Bruins fans out there, I know you're going to be excited about this one. Boston Bruins third round pick from last year, Quinnipiac commit, and most recently forward for the Sioux Stampede, Chris Pelosi. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Obviously, you're coming off a great year. Off season's here. What kind of things are you doing this off season, man? As far as things off the ice, away from hockey.
Yeah, pretty much just golfing. I've been out on the course a few times here and there, but no, I've been in the gym a lot. Skating as well, and all my buddies are there with me, so it's been a great off season so far.
Are you back in Jersey?
Yeah.
What are some of the nice courses out there?
Actually, this course I just got redone. The whole course. It's called Pinelands.
Okay.
It's actually really nice. Yeah, and they got discounts every Wednesday. So.
Oh, dude, can't beat that. How's the golf game looking so far?
I actually played yesterday. I didn't do too bad, so
there you go.
It's pretty good.
Dude, I played this past weekend, and I'm already ready to take some time off. It was brutal,
yeah,
but man, jumping into obviously the season, you had a great year. You had a huge jump as far as point production, 36 more points than you had last year. What do you think was the biggest reason for this jump in pretty much all your numbers? It was, goals, assists, plus, minus. You obviously played in a few more games. But what do you think was the biggest reason for that jump in all those numbers in your production? And what areas of your game do you think you improved the most in?
Yeah. So I think, going from, my rookie season to my second season, biggest thing was probably my confidence, rose a lot. From the summer, I just worked hard and I had set myself some goals, and I was able to reach them with the confidence I brought back to my second season. And the guys there helped me out a lot. We had a great team. We made playoffs. Fell a little short, but I felt like it was a great season for us. And so I think my skating got a lot better over the summer. I tried to work on that a lot, and just like my decisions that I made with the puck. The guys I skate with back at home, they're all really good. Yeah. They're all D1 players. We got some junior guys and, some pro guys, and, they come to the rink every day with the intention to help everyone get better, not just themselves. And so it was a great summer.
Yeah. So, you mentioned last summer, your rookie year, was skating one of the big things that you really were trying to hone in and focus on? And then were there any other areas, your decision-making you mentioned, but was skating kind of the biggest thing that you were, really focusing on?
Yeah. As a bigger guy, taller guy, skating kind of has to be there a lot. You got the long strides to help you out a little bit, but your form's got to be there to get, your maximum amount of power and speed. So, I skated with a guy over summer, and he helped me out a lot. And, I just kind of remembered everything throughout the season, and it helped me, bring out my goals a lot. So,
yeah, you just mentioned a guy, Beckett Hendrickson. Obviously, he went literally the next round after you, man. 4th round pick last year. Man, what's your relationship like with Beckett? Because obviously, man, you guys made some highlight reel, plays this season. It seemed like every other day I was seeing a highlight of you two, tic-tac-toe passes. Man, what's your relationship like, chemistry wise on and off the ice with Beckett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're super close already. We met last year at main camp in Sioux Falls, and we kind of just clicked right away. He's an outgoing kid, so he can really make friends with anyone, but everyone loved him. He's a great guy, and even better player on the ice. So he's a great pickup for the Bruins, and I can't wait to, hopefully play with him again someday.
Yeah, as far as like his game and your game, like how do you think you guys kind of feed off each other in your specific like ways you guys play? And how do you guys kind of I said feed off each other? Like what makes you guys so special as, line mates?
Yeah, I guess we're both kind of just two-way forwards. We play all 3 zones on the ice, and we're always in the battles together. So we kind of complement each other, and he has that great vision and passing abilities as well as scoring abilities that, we can both use to our advantage. So it was great playing with him.
Yeah, so did you have any contact with him like after the draft or anything? Like, was he one of the first ones that you kind of talked to? So obviously he was the fourth rounder right after you.
Yeah.
But did you have any contact with him like prior to that?
Um, a little bit because I think he found out like right before the draft he was coming to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
So he texted me like, "Yo, can't wait to be on your team," stuff like that. But right after the draft, he texted me again. I didn't know him that well yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, we were just kind of
That's
texting.
crazy how that works out.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
like, but man, like, so next year, you're going to be back in this area. Obviously, you committed to Quinnipiac. What was it last year or 2 years ago?
It was when the first year 05s were allowed to
Yeah,
commit.
yeah, and obviously that's going to be the start of your college career. You'll be going into your freshman year. What are your expectations for going into the year for yourself? And like, obviously, you don't want to set them too high. I mean, Quinnipiac's losing a lot of good players, man, to the pros. Colin Graff, Sam Lipkin, Jacob Quillen, three legends in Quinnipiac, right? Like, what are your expectations going into your first year?
Yeah, obviously Rand's a great coach. He
Yeah,
works everyone hard, and that's kind of been his coaching style ever since he started out at Quinnipiac. So I'm excited to get with him, and their strength guy there, Brajesh, they call him Coach B, I think, and
yeah,
they're just their whole philosophy is just work hard and grind. So that's pretty much been my game, pretty much my whole life. So I can't wait to get started, and I think I'll fit in just well.
Now, when you were kind of going through schools and whatnot, like what specifically about Quinnipiac was it that kind of drew you to the school? Was it Coach Pecknold? Was it like other things as far as school goes? Like what was it specifically that drew you to Quinnipiac?
Yeah, Coach Pecknold, he definitely had a huge part. I played against his son ever
Yeah,
since I was probably like 10 years old. So he's always been watching me and stuff. And I've talked to him here and there beforehand, just to meet him and stuff. And um, just the way he presents himself really goes a long way. He's very nice. He's a good guy. He's confident. So that definitely helped make my decision a little easier. And then obviously Quinnipiac's a great school, great academics, and it's not too big of a school. And I'm not that guy to like, be. You can't find me in a huge crowd of people. So yeah, I think it's a perfect fit for me.
So you're telling me none of the Boston schools were for you?
Um, it would have been nice, yeah, but no, I think Quinnipiac's great.
No, I feel you, man. Man, and going through the process, you mentioned, you like the smaller school, the obviously Coach Pecknold. Were there any other schools that you like seriously considered before ultimately making your decision? Or was
Uh,
it Quinnipiac as soon as you kind of got there, you were in love with the school?
I think it was a little bit of both. Quinnipiac was pretty much always my top choice. Um, they're always a great team. Obviously, the way I play fits the way they play and stuff like that. But no, there was definitely other schools in there. Obviously Penn State, a little closer to home, but it's a bigger
Yeah.
school. So,
Yeah.
and then all the other schools that all the young guys want to go to when they first start finding out about college hockey. So.
Yeah, man, and we just talked about Coach Pecknold. You'll be playing for him next year. A lot of the viewers see his on ice success. They kind of just see him behind the bench. They see how he interacts with the media. But you being a player, is the way he coaches. What makes him so special, and what makes players like you want to play for him.
Mhm.
Because again, for the people that don't really know him personally, they just see him on the bench and they see how he interacts with the media. But from your perspective, like what makes him such a appealing coach to play for?
Yeah, probably a huge part of it is that he interacts with his guys. He gets feedback from them, and he's not afraid to take some constructive criticism. And yeah, he's not really like a guy to go out for practice, coach them, and then go home for the day. He'll sit around, hang out with the guys, get to know everyone individually, and help them out with whatever they need. So he's a great guy.
Yeah, I mean everything you hear from other players. We've had guys like Sam Lipkin, on the pod too, and said the same thing, just a consummate professional, but
Mhm.
also like emotionally invested in the players as well, which I would imagine, a lot easier to play for a guy like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, man, you're from New Jersey. You choose Quinnipiac. Um, Man, like, what was it like growing up in, playing hockey in New Jersey? Obviously, it's a little bit different than, you got certain areas, Mass, Philadelphia, you got some good hockey. What was it like growing up playing, in Jersey?
It was actually pretty easy. There's a rink 10 minutes from my house that I started there ever since I was 4 years old. So we kind of had this group of like this core group of like 5 guys that would I've known them ever since I started out. So we kind of just like went up together, and eventually we got all these great guys from everywhere around New Jersey and other states too. And we eventually built this super good team that, helped us with where we're at today.
Did you do a lot of traveling? Like I saw that you played for the Philly Hockey Club. Did you guys do a ton of traveling around, or did you stay pretty local to like that New Jersey, like metro area?
We did a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
We were on the road pretty much every weekend, and we hosted a tournament or two at our home rink. But our coach loved traveling and going out there and being the underdog. So
Yeah.
So we did a lot of traveling, and it was super fun. Hotels with the guys there's nothing better. So
Dude, the mini hockey tournaments, dude, there's nothing like it.
yep.
Man, I want to talk about your experience on draft day. I mean, I remember I was sitting here, literally watched the pick. It was obviously the Bruins' first pick, so we're fired up about it. You're picked in the third round, 92nd overall. I mentioned it was the Bruins' first pick of the draft. Man, talk to us about that whole day, the experience leading up to it, and then what it was like ultimately, when it was all said and done, getting that phone call from the Bees.
Yeah. So I woke up like any normal day. I was going to the rink, working out, skating. And when I got home, I forgot the draft was on, to be honest. And my brother reminded me. He was sitting on the couch, and we just threw it on. I just started eating breakfast, and literally the next pick was me. So had to throw that breakfast away, and everyone started calling me. So I mean, it was great. Yeah, it was great.
Did you get a call from like Sweeney, or like how did that work?
Yeah. So I got a call from actually my agent called me first to let me know that the Bruins picked me, and then eventually they had like 4 or 5 guys call me, and then kind of just give me like a bunch of information about like when's camp starting, and then congratulate me and all that stuff.
So leading up to the draft, were there any teams? I mean, third rounders, extremely high draft pick. Like, did you have an inkling that Boston was a team that was a possibility, or were there other teams that you kind of felt good about that you seriously thought you'd be going to?
Yeah, there's a few teams like Arizona. What's another one? But I mean, Boston was up there. Yeah, I had a few Zoom calls with them and stuff. So I had a feeling it was between them two, and hopefully maybe another team. But I don't know. I just love Boston. Once again, I kind of fit into their playing style. Tough. Going to the battles hard and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, even now, man, you watch this team, like that's exactly what this team needs. I feel like right about now. Obviously you got some time to go, but you guys, it just seems like the way they play the game and the way you play the game, it's a perfect fit.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we actually met last year at development camp. Your first year there was my first time there. It was such a cool experience. From that week, man, like what were your biggest takeaways, as far as like on ice things you kind of learn that you need to focus on, and then to caveat off that, like off the ice stuff that you kind of realized. A lot of the guys that I talked to, like nutrition's a huge thing that they kind of learn about. Like what were your biggest takeaways from that week?
Yeah, definitely nutrition's one. And I guess just how big of a step it actually is. It doesn't look like that big of a step from, juniors to college to the NHL, but it's a lot bigger than it looks. And, skating with all those older guys that are in college already or, about to sign a professional deal, it's super cool. You can learn anything from them, from skating to, obviously their thinking and all that stuff. So, and how serious they take everything. Obviously it's a professional ice hockey team. They're going to take everything serious, but with Boston, they're on track of everything. They're 100% in everything. They don't take anything lightly. So, hopefully be there in a few years. So.
Yeah, man. And honestly, what I remember most is you had some pretty good battles. And obviously, like you're a bigger boy. We talked about that earlier in the show. Were there any guys that you kind of had some battles with that you were like, holy shit, like this is the next level, like this is it?
Yeah, that one guy, he actually got drafted this last year as well. I forget where he's
Was
from.
it Kostadinsky?
Oh my god, yeah, he's massive.
I was gonna say, man, he was a fucking mammoth. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was trying to go down the wall on him. I think he just like clotheslined me this one time. Yeah, he's big and strong. So, and I think he's the same age as I am. So.
Yeah, dude. Because we had interviewed like Riley Duran after that, like Trevor Kunzar. I think he was there. But yeah, he was. I was gonna say because I exactly remember him, dude. He just was like, the skating was. I mean, again, he's a young kid. You brought up earlier that skating something that you've wanted to work on. And I think I remember them. You've had a couple great battles that week, man. I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be. I'm excited to see you play at Quinnipiac for sure, bro.
Yeah,
But man, so I think it was this past weekend you had the alumni game at Mount St. Charles.
Yep.
And obviously I went back and looked at some of your numbers and some tape and whatnot. How was that kind of coming back and seeing all the boys from the team? And as far as Mount St. Charles itself, what did they do for your development, both on the ice stuff and then as a person too?
Yeah, it was great there. I loved my 2 years there. They did everything right. It was only, I think my first year there was Mount's second time having a hockey team there, and they still did a great job. Everything's a lot better now with all the donations and money that they got. They're making a lot of improvements and stuff like that. And my brother's actually there right now. He'll be there. He was there this year, and he'll be there next year. And they played a huge part in my development. And so we had this trainer down there, Mike Macchione. I think he used to be the Bruins strength guy for a little while.
I was gonna say it sounds familiar. Definitely sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was there. He did a great job, getting us in shape, and stuff like that. And then we had this guy come out and skate with us. We just do a lot of skill stuff and kind of get out of our shell with our edges and like jumping over things and whatnot. It was super tough, but it definitely helped a lot. And all the coaches there, they're just really professional. They're great guys. They help everyone, and you can really talk to anyone there and not have a problem.
Yeah, dude, I was looking like year by year. I mean, they've gotten like crazy good every single year. And funny enough, man, I was looking at Rocco's numbers, and it said he had like 170 points. Is that real, or did he put that on there?
No, it's definitely real.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, holy shit, him and Scuderi.
Yeah,
is that Rob's kid?
No,
no relation.
I don't think they're related. No.
I was gonna say, dude, between those two, I'm like, holy crap, did they put these numbers in there? And I'm like, that's crazy for that level of hockey is insane.
They grew up together, so they've been super close for a while.
Yeah, dude, I was like, holy shit. But man, going back, we talked about you being from Jersey, you playing 14U at for Philly Hockey Club. Who would you credit most for kind of getting you into the game of hockey and being the one to kind of help you find your passion and find your love? And then to kind of caveat off that, at what point did you kind of realize you had a legitimate chance to play high level hockey? Was there a certain year that kind of you just took your game to the next level and kind of started to take it more seriously?
Yeah. Obviously it started off, one of my old coaches, Tom Bunning, he's kind of been there for me, through everything ever since I was, 8 years old, all the way up till 14 years old. He's been there. I'm actually best friends with his son, Ryan. And so we're super close, and, he kind of just worked me all the way up until 14. And I can't thank him enough because he kind of just put that motor in me. He kind of, gave me that mindset of, don't give up, just keep going. Everything will be fine and all that stuff. And that's the main reason why our team was so successful with him as our coach. He didn't take anything lightly. We're bagging every practice. We'll have practice with 0 pucks. Everyone hates it, but like it all, it was all for a reason, and it worked out well. And what was your second question? Sorry.
No, so was there a certain year or was there a certain point where kind of, you're playing these games? Was there a certain point that you kind of realized that you had a legitimate chance to A, play in the USHL, B, eventually play Division I hockey? Like, was there a certain year, a certain point in a certain season that you realized you had a chance?
Yeah. So obviously, Johnny Gaudreau, he also grew up, sort of near the same. He played at the same rink I did, the same high school as well. And when I found out his story, his dad was coaching my brother. He actually coached me for a little bit as well. He kind of, explained everything to me like this certain way. And I was like, oh my God, this can actually go somewhere. And then he was telling me like, I legitimately have a chance. And if I just keep putting in the work and everything, it'll eventually come to me. So that was probably around 12 years old. And I was, just kind of put my head down, just kept working out, skating, and, just not giving up from there. And, I fell in love with hockey as soon as I started, playing. So, I was on the ice almost every day, tried out other sports, absolutely hated them. And hockey's just kind of always been my thing. So it's been great.
Yeah, man, you've had some good players grow up in that area. You just mentioned Johnny Gaudreau. We're growing up, like, who was your team? Who was your favorite player growing up? Obviously there's a couple teams around that area that you could have rooted for, but who was your team, man?
I like the Flyers.
Okay.
They've kind of always been my team. And then eventually, some people hate me for saying it, but Tampa Bay was also up there. But they were just good. So every young kid's got like one good team, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, man, they're still good. It's crazy this run that they've had during this whole Stamkos era. And man, just thinking about the fact that he could be in a different uniform next year is crazy to think about, because I remember when he got drafted to Tampa. In talking about guys in the NHL, whether past or present, are there any guys, it doesn't matter if they're playing now, if they're retired, are there any guys currently playing that you kind of emulate your game after, or not emulate your game, but kind of see a little bit of yourself in?
Yeah, definitely. Patrice Bergeron.
That's a pretty good.
Yeah, he's just that two-way, 200-foot player, and he great captain, great guy off the ice. Presents himself really well, and I kind of used to watch a bunch of videos on him when I was younger, and I was just like, I want to be like this guy. Everyone likes him. There wasn't a single soul that hated him, and I just hope to be like him one day.
When you got drafted, did he reach out at all, or was it like, because I was gonna say, man, that'd be wild.
I would be sick, yeah.
Man, we talked about Rocco earlier. Obviously, your younger brother, also an incredibly gifted player himself. We talked about he's at Mount St. Charles currently. Man, talk to us about your relationship with your younger brother and kind of the bond you have with hockey, and what it was like growing up with him.
Yeah, no, it was great. He's 4 years younger than me, so it took a little bit for me to start liking him, I guess you could say, because the annoying little younger brother.
Man. I get it. I got a younger brother too, 4 years younger as well, and I get it, man.
Yeah, but no, we've been super cle's forever, and he's just great. He's kind of just been following behind me, my whole life, and learning stuff from me, and I've been learning a lot from him as well. His work ethic is unbelievable. He's humble. He's a great guy to talk to. So he's super mature for his age now too. So it's good for his future, and hopefully I'd love to see him go far.
Yeah, man. Hey, you can be honest with us. Who usually came away victorious in the mini hockey and street hockey battles?
Oh, definitely me.
Yeah. Well, we won't tell him, man. We won't tell him. But honestly, man, we can't thank you enough. We're coming up on 25 minutes. It was great talking to you. This kind of has been it had been in the works for a little bit, so I greatly appreciate you taking the time. I can't wait to see you at Quinnipiac. It's not too far from where we're at in Mass. And yeah, man, can't wait to see you play, and best of luck to you going forward.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Chris Pelosi, third-round pick of the Boston Bruins, and Quinnipiac commit, and most recently the forward for the Sioux Falls Stampede. Awesome interview yet again. Happy to have him here, but we've got another incredible person. Couldn't be happier to have you on. Carpy, how you doing? Honestly, this has been a long time coming, so I'm so excited that we're finally making this happen.
A long time coming. I am super excited to be on with you. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Yeah, so for our listeners, obviously you're well known on Twitter and socials with your work. Incredible photographer, knowledgeable in the game of hockey. Both PWHL, NHL, college, you name it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience in the game. And obviously, we know your shit. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up a Bruins fan, a little bit loosely. I was big into baseball. My dad loved baseball, and my mom was like, no, like you need to get into the game. So she would just hound me and everything, and she was like, we're going to games, you're gonna learn these players. And it really became something that we did together, but then kind of morphed into something where I was like, oh, this is good. Like, I really like this. I want to know more. And then I started just getting into the overall NHL. And I just thought it was the most insane, interesting thing. All these players, all the different leagues. And then I just really found my niche. Like, I found a love for it. And then through that, I started doing some photography. So I've had the privilege of shooting the Providence Bruins for Inside the Rink, as well as most recently PWHL Boston. So I got to shoot the finals. I was there through the playoffs, did a little on-ice ceremony with the friends and family, got to see some behind the scenes with that, take some really awesome pictures, and then do a little work with some of the NHL, AHL college guys that live around here in the summers and play 3-on-3. So it's a little bit of everything all the time when it comes to the sport and photography.
I think you're downplaying what you did during the PWHL, like on the ice. You're talking as casually, like it's no big deal. You're shooting photos for Taylor Heisey. I mean, go down the list. Like, what was that experience like? Obviously, it was sad to see PWHL Boston not be able to take it, but I see you like literally on the ice, and I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, this is insane. Like, obviously, well deserved. Like, talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, so very surreal going into it, obviously not knowing if there was going to be a game 5, where that was going to end up. Kind of praying a little bit. Of course, I wanted Boston to pull it out, but, coming back, playing game 5, do or die at home. I mean, what more could you ask for as an enjoyer of the sport, but also someone who's covering it? So there was conversations. They were like, there's certain photographers that will get on, media people. So I'm in the tunnel. Minnesota's won. I took my pictures, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm standing there. Berkey's there. Stan Kasten's there. Billie Jean King. The Walter Trophy. The Walter Cup is right there. And then they finished up with all their on-ice stuff, and then it was time for friends and family. So I went out for that. Very surreal being surrounded by all these players. They're on a high, of course. They've got their friends, their family, their other teammates, staff, and just seeing them pass around the cup, taking pictures with it, taking selfies, getting in it with their family. The emotion was like truly palpable. And it was one of the most incredible things I've ever gotten to be a part of. And getting to take pictures for all of those players, just being a tiny little piece of documenting history at this point,
And
I'm
those
sad
photos
it wasn't Boston.
They were incredible, those photos. Like, and like, again, Taylor Heisey, posting that on her. I'm like, oh, that's Carp. Carp did that shit.
Yeah. So that was crazy. I was just trying to get shots of everybody doing different things, catching the emotion. Because of course there's some people who are just like, wow, we just did that. And then I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. Taylor got the cup, she's taking pictures with it. And then she went to kiss it. And I was like, this is the photo. And it's arguably one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, for the fact that, she goes from being the number one draft pick in the inaugural draft to being one of the players that gets to lift the cup in the inaugural season. And I mean, that's right up there with Kendall Coyne Schofield. I mean, she was one of the people who was instrumental in getting this started, and to see her lift the cup, be the first person to touch it, captaining that team, it was crazy. And
it's a storybook ending.
I'll remember forever. Oh
yeah, it's just unreal. Were you in the building for the crazy? So I remember Alina Mueller eventually scored. They called the no goal. Were you in the building for that one?
No, so that was in Minnesota.
Okay.
And that was crazy. So they thought they scored, they're celebrating and they're just waiting. And then it eventually gets called back. I believe that was the 2 OT game. And she comes in clutch. She brings it home to Boston. I mean, there's not much more you could have asked for in a final series. Game 5, where a lot of these players have never even played a 5-game series, was incredible.
I've never seen in literally any league, I've never seen that happen before, where like teams are rushing out on the ice and it's like you throw in their equipment. And it's like, I literally have never seen that happen before.
It's crazy to think that like you're on the high of that emotion and now you're in the moment and they're like, no goal for goaltender interference. And now, I mean, I have to imagine the only thing in your mind is, okay, we're going back to their house, but we're going to take it from them.
Yeah.
And 100%. I think one of them said, so nice, we had to win it twice. I think it was maybe Nicole Hensley. With 2 incredible shutouts to backstop them after taking over in game 2 for Maddie Rooney. So, I mean, it's true.
Unreal. Yeah, it was unreal. And, earlier you brought up, Taylor Heisey being the first pick. We've got another draft coming up so fast. Like when you had told me it was like that soon, I was like, holy shit. Like, obviously we've got the NHL. Yeah. I wanted to kind of talk to you about, obviously we had been kind of going back and forth on text, talking about like who we think. We can kind of go back and forth and go down the list, but I'm looking at this mock draft from the hockey news, and it looks like even all these articles that I'm looking at, and it looks like Sarah Fillier from Princeton of all schools, which is kind of crazy. I didn't know they were a hockey school, just smart people over there. But can you tell us like what you know about Sarah and like, is she your pick to be the number one? And I know we had gone back and forth between her and Danielle Serdachny. I hope I probably fucking butchered that, but
I think there's a lot of good talent in this draft. I think this will be a strong first round. And I think a lot of people have said with Sarah, you're in this first spot. You need to take the best available player. I think New York does have a lot of depth at center, but you've got this opportunity. You're picking first. I think you want to make an impact. You want to pick the best available player. And I do think that's Sarah Fillier. I think there's been a lot of talk if Serdachny could go first. I think they're both very viable options. But I do think when it comes down to it, New York is going to take Fillier. But I think that there's a lot of strong talent in this draft. And I do think Serdachny may go second. I think if you're missing out on Fillier, you've got 2 strong forwards at the beginning of the draft. I think that Ottawa will take her second.
Yeah. So one thing that is like really like popping out to me, and this is from Elite Prospects, is she a 4-year captain?
I believe she is.
Because I'm looking at this to her starting at Princeton in 2018, sorry. She's scored 20 goals every year at least. And I'm seeing 4-year captain. I've never seen that before, especially in college.
Yeah. I think that she is she's as advertised. I think she'll be very, very well suited for New York.
Yeah, I mean 29 games, we're talking 30 goals, 13 apples, and 43 points, a plus 26. That's insane.
Yeah.
And like we went down the list. You mentioned Serdachny. according to this, mock draft, Hannah Bilka, left wing from Ohio State, going to Minnesota. Minnesota takes home the championship and gets the third overall pick. Can you kind of tell us what you know about this Hannah Bilka?
Yeah. So I think that she would be a very nice addition to Minnesota. I mean, we've seen it. They score well. You've got Taylor Heisey. You've got Michaela Cava. She was also up there in points in the finals. So, I mean, you've got good scoring, but what better to kind of move you into that next echelon, maybe join the top half of the league in better scoring. I think she would be a great pick for them. Admittedly, I would love to see Hannah Bilka fall to 4 for Boston to take her. But I think that Minnesota would be silly not to pick her. And I do think she'll be on the board at 3. But you never know. There's so much fluidity in these picks. They may see something that we don't, or they might not see something that we do. But she is a very good player. I think Hannah Bilka may have been just above a point per game in her final season.
Yes. So I'm looking at her right now. Ohio State. She also played in looks like the Women's Worlds as well. Had a pretty good tournament. 39 games. She had 22 goals, 26 apples, 48 points, and a plus 45. That's pretty good.
It's really good. And I know I look at +/-2 and I'm like, how much does it really mean? But I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't think it's one of those like it doesn't tell the whole story, I feel like, in most cases. But you mentioned Boston picking at 4. Is there anyone on this list that kind of stands out to you? Because I feel like now once you get to 4, I mean, there's 3 defensemen and then this Britta Curl that could also be going in these slots. Is there anyone that kind of sticks out to you that you'd love to see?
So I think Boston's a little tricky in the sense that they need some scoring. They have great scorers, but we have a lot of free agents. And obviously when you're getting a pick in the draft, you want to aim for the need. And I think they do need scoring, but they also need someone to play on that top pair with Megan Keller. And I think that my choice would be Kayla Barnes. I think she's an incredible player. I think she's a little on the smaller side. I think she may be 5'5", but
5'2",
very good. 5'2". Yeah. So she's on the smaller side, which it did get a little physical this season, which was very nice to see. But I think she can absolutely hold her own. And then the other person that I think Boston may look at is Claire Thompson. She took a year off and ended up declaring for the draft this year. I would love to see them get Bilka.
Yeah, that's who they have in this Hockey News one that we were going back and forth on. They have Claire Thompson, but as I read about Kayla Barnes, I mean, Kayla Barnes could go anywhere from 2nd to 5th in this draft. Despite her physicality, her international success, her NCAA prowess, and her all-around strong play, a few GMs wonder how much size will come into play in the PWHL next season. Two-way blue liner. Yeah, two-way blue liner. Yeah, exactly what you said. 5'2", you got to wonder, like, that's, and it was physical. It was awesome to see. Like, I mean, I went to like 3 games, and I mean, they hit. Like,
they were throwing some big hits, and I have to say, it's nice to see the officials let them. I think that added so much to the game. I think, that gets them going. Like, if you're going to hit my player, I'm going to hit you back. And I think that may be a question mark. Of course, I mean, 5'2" in a physical game, but she's a very good player. I think that she would be great on that top pair with Megan Keller. Same with Thompson, though. I think that she would be a great option. I think it really depends on what you're looking for there. Are you worried about her size and the physicality, or are you okay with her size, her playmaking ability? Yeah. She's pretty offensive, which I think Boston could use. I mean, if you're not going for a forward, maybe you go for a forward in the 2nd round, target someone in free agency. I think either one of them would be a good pick. I would take Barnes.
Yeah. A name that kind of popped out to me as I was going down the list, Amanda Kessel. Like, absolute legend. I'm going down looking. Shattuck St. Mary's, she dominated. University of Minnesota, obviously, the sister of Phil Kessel,
Yep.
ripped it up at, Minnesota. She's eligible to enter the draft, which is crazy. What they have right now is her slotted in, the second round, going to New York, first pick in the second round. She's a 1991. What are your thoughts on her? Like, when I saw that she was eligible for the draft, I thought she would just be a free agent, but you seem to know like how this stuff works.
Yeah, so I'm not completely sure on that. I'm still trying to get down kind of the ins and outs of the draft and free agency. I don't know if you go undrafted that you then are free to sign on like a reserve list or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, she comes as advertised.
Yeah.
What more can you say about Amanda Kessel? She's an incredible player. A little older, of course, and there are some older players in this league. So I think you might want to target her if you've got some younger players in there. You need some veteran leadership. I believe Alex Carpenter is in New York. I mean, another great name. Yeah. But I think she might fall a little bit. I think second round would probably be where I would take a flyer on her. I mean, she's an incredible player. She's going to be an incredible asset in the room, a huge voice, and she's obviously going to make an impact on the ice. I just don't know where she'll fall. I think second round, and any team that takes her is going to be better.
Yeah, from what it says here, it says if she doesn't go 7th overall to New York, says if she doesn't go here, watch for Boston to snag her up at 10. Can you imagine being able to go watch her? Like, I don't know. Like when you think of women's hockey, like her name is definitely up there as like a
absolutely legend. And I mean, you put her with names like Hillary Knight. I mean, Aaron Frankel, like Boston.
Alina
those
Mueller.
Names are in lights.
Yeah, it'd be unreal. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Like, I'm definitely invested in. How I love my drafts and how I love doing my mock draft. So we'll definitely put something out and kind of compare notes and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I mean, looking at some of these numbers, like these girls can fucking play.
Oh my God, it's incredible. And I think I think people who aren't as into the game don't realize that, of course, they say, oh, women's hockey, but like, no, these girls are gamers. And I mean, they come every day ready to play. They're getting better and better. They're putting up huge numbers in college, huge numbers internationally. Like they come as advertised, they come with hardware and, the play to back it up. And I think looking at even last year's draft, I mean, Taylor Heisey came in, made an immediate impact. She was great in Minnesota. She takes home the MVP. I mean, what more can you want for drafting? And they're doing most of their development in season in the league. They don't have a development league unless you want to send your players over to Europe. So I think it's a lot different, but I think they come ready to play.
Yeah, I like person that sticks out to me right away is like when I was taking classes at Northeastern, being able to go watch. I would watch the guys, the girls. Alina Mueller is fucking gross. Like being able and now seeing that she's in Boston and like I went to a couple games and like I just remember her being at Northeastern and I was like, holy shit, she can play. Like she's nasty.
And she was incredible for Boston. I mean, taking them out of that game and bringing them back home. I mean, I think she did everything she could. She was incredible this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, and like honestly, I'm curious for you even like what did this year in the PWHL like mean to you? Like obviously I think it goes way beyond hockey, right? And
for sure.
Yeah, and like I'm curious what did this season mean to you?
It's very nice to see everything working out. Of course, there was the contentious 2 leagues and how are we going to support them and what's going to happen. And then the merger, we've got the PWHL. And I think there was a lot of people who loved the sport of women's hockey that were nervous. You're starting this from the ground up. You've got all these players. You've got 6 teams. How are you going to draft? How are you going to pay them? Where are they going to go? Like the PHF was basically, you played where you lived or you played where you had your day job or if you could commute. And this has completely flipped the script. I mean, you go where you're drafted. And I think it's huge just being able to be a tiny piece of it to document the history of these games and these players in this first season was, I mean, beyond anything I could have imagined, but also just getting to see the talent and seeing these arenas fill up and all of these little girls seeing their idols and learning that like you can play hockey. Like this isn't something you do on the side. You can be a professional women's hockey player. You can be just like us. And I think that was a huge driving force of this whole season was, you know, showing people that this is sustainable, you know, there's so much talent. And I just think it's paving the way. I think that you're going to see the numbers, not that there's a lack of young girls playing hockey, but I think it's going to open a lot more doors and a lot more eyes to the fact that like you can do this if you want to, and if you want to strive for it, like you can be on this ice one day too.
Yeah, it was incredible to see, honestly. Like I remember going to I believe it was the New York game and just seeing all the little girls with their sign. Like it's just so cool to see because you kind of reverse the roles in like NHL games and you see, you know, the little boy with their idols. It's cool to see kind of everything come full circle. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And even just to stay after the games and, you know, see them flipping pucks up or, you know, giving out sticks to little girls standing at the tunnel, or even the away team stopping and they'd get like 4 or 5 pucks in their hand and they'd be handing them out. They'd take selfies. Like they really take the time. And I think that's just another way to grow the game and the accessibility of it all.
Now I know they're going to be coming up with names, right? For the, I've seen some pretty like outrageous names, and like I'm gonna be honest here. Tell me what you think. I thought the Boston Pride was sick. Like I was a fan of it. I loved the logo. I loved like the jerseys, the everything that came with it. What are you hoping for as far as at least Boston goes, right?
Yeah. So I love the Pride. I think that they did a really good job, the PHF as a whole, with, you know, color schemes. Of course, with Boston, you've got black and yellow, the Pride. I loved it. And I think we kind of have to throw away what we know. I know there was something that leaked a while back, and it was the Boston Wicked.
Yeah.
No.
I don't. Yeah. Okay. I was like, all right, I'm gonna tread lightly here. Like, I don't know.
No, and I think it's not dissimilar to what's going on with Utah right now. For the NHL, they're kind of narrowing down their names, and there's not many fan favorites.
Yeah.
I would love to see them do a nod to maybe some history, maybe with each team and, you know, where they're located, or kind of play off their color scheme. But the Boston Wicked was not doing it for me. I don't want to cheer for the Wicked.
No.
And I understand, you know, a regional thing. We say Wicked all the time, but I just don't think it fits as well. I think they should maybe try and play off the color scheme, you know, the green, white, and silver or something like that. But it's tricky. I mean, I think I have to give it to them for taking the season off and saying, you know what, it's PWHL team location. At first I was like, that is goofy. Like it just seems illegitimate, but now kind of seeing it and realizing that they are trying to get everything right. I tip my hat to them, and I don't want to be in that situation trying to figure out these names, because no matter what, nobody's going to like them.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true. It's true.
You're not going to agree with everything, but I'm hoping they can refine it a little bit and take it from that, like, I don't want to say goofy, but like the Wicked, like kitschy, to like something a little more firm and like representative.
Yeah, I think just from a pure business standpoint too, like all the merch that they sold this year with PWHL Boston, and like now they're going to be transitioning into a new team. They're going to be people are going to want the new stuff and want the new, and it kind of like we were going to get into this eventually, but with the Utah team, and kind of people are thinking that they're going to pick a name this year. That's just not the case. It's going to be the Utah Hockey Club this year. In my mind, I think they're going to go with the Utah Hockey Club, and then one of these odd names. I went with Yeti, but I think I was afraid to say that because I'm like, I'm about to get fucking roasted on.
No, I think there's a lot of people that also agree that out of all of the names, the Yeti would be good. I know I think it was the Freeze was on there, the Mammoth,
Blizzard,
the Outlaws, the Blizzard.
Outlaws doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. And they had a very hard time with the plurals.
Yeah.
like the Yeti. Like the
I mean,
Yetis.
is it one Yetis or is it a group of Yetis?
Right. And I'm just like, I think they need to workshop it. I also agree with you. I know a lot of people don't agree with this and people aren't going to like it. I would rather them roll with Utah Hockey Club, even if they
Yeah.
have the intention to change it. If they can nail the color scheme, they can use Hockey Club for the time being. I can kind of see them saying, like, we don't want to change it once we pick it, and just kind of rolling with whatever gets the most votes. I know that
Yeah.
they are putting it up to a vote.
Yeah, I mean, people got to
Which is
remember
cool.
too, and I brought up earlier, like Ryan Smith, the owner, he's a businessman. Like he's gonna
Through and through.
do, like he is a pure businessman. Not that he doesn't care about. It's gonna be a breath of fresh air to actually have someone who's invested in hockey. But again,
Absolutely.
when thinking about this, it's like I find it hard to believe that he's not gonna take advantage of 2 opportunities to drop merch, drop
Of
like.
course.
And I think that's the most viable option is
Yeah.
Utah Hockey Club. Roll with that for a year. They can keep the same color schemes regardless of what name they come up with. And it seems like they're
Workshop
going with
it.
that, the black baby blue,
I
which
like it.
I love it too. I
I'm a
love the
big
color
fan.
scheme.
I am
And
admittedly a big fan. I love the powder blue Montreal Canadiens reverse retros,
oh
and
my
I
god,
love the powder blue Florida ones.
oh my god, those
If
are
we
my
can get
favorite
a
jerseys.
uni like that full time,
Yeah,
sign me up.
mint.
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. Ryan Smith, businessman. I know
Yeah,
that people aren't loving the idea of the arena right now. I mean, obviously, a lot of obstructed view seating. Not
yeah, I
great,
saw
but
that.
they are going to get a new rink, I believe, or arena because the Jazz play there. It's wait and see. I think he's doing all the right things. I think he's doing a great job of, bringing the community into it. You've got people voting for these names. I mean, even the turnout when the team went out to Utah to do that,
Yeah.
I think it was like a press conference. That was huge. And they just did some nice throwback uniforms for the Jazz with purple. I think there might have been a little blue in there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I honestly I think he's doing all the right things, which is again, I brought up a breath of fresh air. Like hearing some of the stories, we had Stephen Camphor on a couple weeks back, and like kind of just the stories that you're hearing about this ex-owner,
yeah,
the plane situations that they'd be in, the hotel thing. And for
yeah,
Ryan Smith to fly them, fly them private, fly them to Utah and have that
yeah,
huge, I mean, that stadium was full.
yeah, yeah. And
And
people are excited.
yeah, and Big Tuna Liam O'Brien stole the show. That was
I
hilarious.
mean, he is going to be a fan favorite.
Oh
If
yeah,
he's not already, which I'm sure he is, as soon as he gets on that ice, he is going to be everybody's favorite player.
all-time leader in penalty minutes. But
Rightfully so. And he'll tell
yeah,
you that.
yeah. So I want to transition, and obviously you and I love the Bruins. That's our team through and through. Obviously we cover all hockey here, but obviously the Bruins are our team.
Yep.
Tough ending to the season.
Yep.
There's a lot of question marks. I mean, obviously, every day you go on, you see a new dumb hypothetical trade for Allmark. Is Jake DeBrusk going to stay? What are we going to give Swayman? A
Yeah.
lot of question marks. I mean, based on how the season ended, like, how do you see this whole offseason kind of shaking up?
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously, we are not in a market where it's tear it up or tear it down and rebuild it. They're always
Yeah.
going to do a little bit of retooling on the fly. I think your top priority has to be Swayman. I
Absolutely.
mean, he was your best player throughout the playoffs. I think he showed you with that opportunity to start what he's made of. So I think you have to get that done. Numbers, I think it's going to be high. I mean, I think he showed that he can be a number one goaltender. And I mean, you're looking right now at trading Allmark.
Yeah.
So
What are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like in going through and like Bruins Twitter better than probably fucking anyone. There's a lot of mixed feelings. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that are like his value definitely is nowhere near what it was post Vezina. I mean, I think it's kind of plummeted a little bit.
Absolutely.
I think what people think they're going to get back in return is going to be very underwhelming.
Yeah, I think that right there, people need to temper their expectations. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't want to trade him after that season. And I get that. I didn't want to trade him either.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that you moved off of trading him then. He's not as high as he was. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I think the Bruins knew that. I think they knew if they kept him this season, they might not be looking at as good of a return. I mean, he's still a very good goalie. I just don't think people understand what you're going to get back for that. I mean, a first round pick, maybe, but are you getting anything additional?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen a hypothetical to New Jersey. I've seen a hypothetical to Carolina, and we'd get Natchez back in return.
Yeah, I just feel like we'd have to add more. Do you feel like we'd have to, like, a lot of these? I've seen the Martin Natchez deal. I've
Yep.
seen the 10th overall pick being thrown around.
Yep.
And as you know, this is a loaded draft. Between this year and next year, I mean, a first round pick is gold. Now for the 10th overall pick, I feel like that's not something New Jersey would be willing to just give up straight up. I feel like there might have to be some assets added for that. That's my opinion.
I think Jersey's tough because they need a goalie. I mean,
yeah,
they're a good team on paper. Obviously, not the best season, but they need a goalie. And I mean, they went out and got Jake Allen, and I think that could be good. I do believe that Sheldon Keefe has highlighted having Jake Allen in the room and kind of assessing further. But if you're looking for a good goalie, he's right there.
Yeah.
But with what you have in assets, do you think you can give up that 10th pick?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're doing that 1-for-1.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to want more in return because, again, having that 10th pick there's a lot of guys that are, I think, franchise altering. I mean, that you could even get at 10, as far as forwards go. The defensive prospects are loaded. I mean, they have tons of young defensemen.
I mean, I have a very good pipeline. It's just what do you need to win? And is Linus Ullmark what you need to win? Or do you think you can get a different goalie, take that pick, draft and develop?
Yeah.
That's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah. Are you on the side of saying, say in my mind, I think 8 for Swayman is like low. I see some people saying like in the 6-7 range, and I'm like, if I'm Jeremy Swayman, like after Sweeney just took me to arbitration, like, and then I just had the season that I had, looking at what some of these goalies make, the Jake Ottingers of the world, the Connor Hellebucks of the world.
Yep.
And then
you got guys like Shesterkin who are coming up and they need to get signed. I think it may be fortunate. I mean, he's got other players to look at like Ottinger and say, I want this. I think if they can get him done before Shesterkin, that'd be great. But I think that's a great number. I think 6 is way too low.
Yeah, and like I think people, and it's Bruins Twitter, again, everyone's entitled to their and you just look at it and it's like there's no way that this dude is going to take $6 million a year, because that's like middle tier goaltending for me. Like that, I think when I think about it, that's nowhere near the upper
8x8. I think you'd be in a good place. I think his camp would say no. I think they'd say, we just did arbitration.
Yeah.
Look at his numbers. Look at where he got you. I mean, he was standing on his head every night.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you have to go with it. I think the Bruins are learning slowly that you have to pay. Not everybody's going to take a hometown discount or for the betterment of the team. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be like, give me the whole bank, but I think you have to be mindful that he needs to be paid what he deserves.
He's a franchise goalie. I mean, you pay for franchise goaltending. You have to. And I feel like, correct, and if I'm wrong, I feel like if he's making 8+, you kind of have to trade Ullmark at that point. That's a lot. I
think the writing's on the wall with that anyways, because you've got to bring in other players. I mean, you really have to target a 1C, 2C deal there. And I think you have to pay for that. Centers don't come cheap in this league, and centers are hard to come by anyways. So I think with that, I think we're going to need to bring in some D. I think Ullmark's time is up. And I hate to say that. I love Ullmark. I think he's an amazing person off the ice, obviously an incredible goalie on the ice, but that's big money. And if you can move that out and either bring another player back or get a pick in here and free up that cap space, I think it'll do wonders for the team.
Yeah. The next question is Jake DeBrusk. I think that's probably the next big. There is definitely a lot of split. I guess we'll say opinions. We'll say there are a lot of people very territorial about Jake DeBrusk within the some good, some not so good, some kind of psychotic, as we know.
Yeah. So I think he's a hot button issue with the Bruins, of course. I mean, you'll get everybody that says he underperforms. He's not that good of a player. He's streaky. He's not reliable. He is a good player. Truth be told, I was big on moving him at the trade deadline. Not because I want him out of Boston. I think he's a great player. I think he is great in this lineup just because I thought we could have used that to get something back that we needed. Obviously, we know they didn't do that. I have seen a lot of people saying if they still haven't started talks, then it looks like the writing is on the wall. I don't think that's true. I know a lot of conversations start right down to the wire, but I think it's going to be a matter of what he's asking for and kind of where he sees himself on this team. I don't think the Bruins are going to value him where other teams might.
Yeah. See, for me, I think the thing with Jake DeBrusk is I think I've at times been critical of him for sure.
Of course.
And I think it's mostly during the lows of his play.
Absolutely.
And I think he's been unfairly roped into that 2015 class because if you think about it, in my opinion, I don't see how you can call Jake DeBrusk a bust at 14. Like where he was drafted, 14th overall. I truly believe that he's unfairly roped with Jake Zaboral and Zach Senyshyn. And Ty Anderson said the same thing. Like at this point, do you sign him to $6 million a year? Is that overpaying at that point? Because I feel like if he were to hit the open market, I feel like teams are offering more than that for him.
Yeah, and I think part of it comes down to like where do you see him in this lineup? If you're making changes, where does he fit in for you? He needs to get his bag. So if that is coming from another team, I would be very happy for him. And I agree with you. You cannot call him a bust. I know people will say, well, he got to play with Bergeron. He got to play with Marchand, but he's not a bust. Look at his numbers. He's not in that same tier.
Carp, I'm looking at his numbers since 2017. I'm just going to go down the list. 16 goals in 70, 27 and 68. 19 goals in 65. He in 2020, the shortened season, 5 goals in 41. That was the real kind of bad season. 25 and 77. Obviously 2022, he had 27 and 64. And then this past season played in 80 games, 19 goals, 21 assists. But I feel like he kind of played in like a lesser role, almost like a third liner.
And I think if your vision of him is third line, then I think you need to give him third line money. And I don't know that that's where he sees himself. And I think that's the big problem.
Yeah, no, I think that's where kind of the disconnect is because you kind of listen to Don Sweeney where he's kind of made it known that like, listen, it takes two to tango. It takes, it's a two-way street. And you know what? Good for DeBrusk. I mean, like, again, these guys have to get paid. Like he hasn't gotten that yet.
And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I know he's endeared by so many people in the city. He loves it here, and I think he wants to stay. But I don't think he's going to stay if you're offering him a cheap contract. Like, I think if you could get like, I don't know, six seems low, but it also seems like a good number.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were just talking about, with Swayman, and you have these people that are saying 3.5. It's like, on what planet is Jake DeBrusk taking $3.5 million? Like, way that everything's gone down, like the way that he's loved, he's hated, like every other day, it's like 3.5. I don't feel like that's enough. Like, for me, I would love to see him sign that. It goes back to, if you're going to be putting him on third line, those are the minutes he's going to play, then that's probably fair. But if I'm DeBrusk, I'm thinking to myself, look what Zach Hyman did this year. I mean, Zach Hyman got the opportunity to go play with McDavid, making 5.5, and he just had an over 50 goal year. Like, and that's who would have thought that would have happened?
Right. And I mean, it can happen for anybody. It's just, are you in the situation to get it done? And if you do, coming into a contract year, you're going to get paid.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Obviously, there's already mayhem on Twitter and stuff. It's so fucking funny to see. But
I mean, I think there are a lot of guys that are going to walk. I mean, I don't think we're going to see JVR again. For Bort, I think it's already come out that he is leaving. He's testing free agency, which love him, hate him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
His time here was over, but I think that he can still do some good for a team. Looks like Heino and the Bruins are talking, which I think is great. I think he's your ideal, like, third, fourth line money man right there.
Yeah. Well, depending on what he's going to get. I mean, obviously with the cap going up.
Yep.
He deserved a contract, and like, for sure. I mean, I think he definitely outplayed that 1 year deal.
Yeah.
Another guy
sitting on it too. He was there every day skating, just waiting for the opportunity. And I think that is the ideal showcase of, like, my time came up and I took it.
Yeah.
And I think if they can get him done at like 2x3.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair, especially considering what he does on the penalty kill. He can play top 3 line, like you can slot him in anywhere. Another guy that I'm biased, right? Like I love Matty Grzelcyk. I'd love to see him back. I don't know. Again, I feel like if he's offered a small enough deal, he'd be a guy that I wouldn't mind bringing back on like a 2-year, say like $2 million. Now, is it similar to, is he going to way overvalue himself? I don't know. I know how much he loves Boston. It's literally in his blood. It's in his entire career has been here. So I'm curious on your thoughts. Do you bring him back and kind of have him as a guy that slots in, third pair?
I'm torn with him.
Because there's no in between.
No.
There's no in between with him. He's either a guy that's going to play 18 to 20 minutes a night, and you know exactly what you're going to get from him, or he's a healthy scratch. There's literally no in between with him. There's no.
I just think, and I know I used to tell everybody, I'm like, no, you've got him wrong as a playoff performer. But
yeah,
I think that he does struggle in the playoffs. I think he's okay enough in the regular season, but I think it's time to move on from him. I mean, obviously he was 7D in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Can you sign a guy like Witherspoon? Can you get him for cheaper? Like, where do you see that? I think it's time to move on from Grzelcyk. And I hate saying that because, of course, he's a Boston guy. His dad, I mean, the stories are endless, but I think he's going to be a good player for another team. Maybe not where he's playing here. Like, I don't know, he might have to go third pair, but I think he's still got game in him. I think he's just going to have to find his fit. But I do agree, if you're talking like 2x2, I don't see why you don't take a flyer on that.
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to money and what you want to do with the blue line.
Yeah, I think with the play of Lowry and obviously Witherspoon, it's definitely made him not expendable, but like, again, you got to be at day one next year. These guys have to be in the lineup, in my opinion.
Right.
There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing that Providence is going to do for Mason Lowry at this point. I don't think that. There are tweets that I've seen saying that Lowry and Matty Poitras are going to be in Providence. I think that's ridiculous. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that too. I think naturally you want to say, oh, send him back to Providence, let him get reps. But who are you sending him to Providence to put in?
Well, that's what I'm saying. This team isn't deep enough to do that.
And I mean, he went back and he played great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think his role is on the blue line in the NHL. I think Poitras, same thing. I mean, obviously you got to see how he comes back from that injury, but I think he's going to be good. I know he's very motivated to get back. And you got to let the kids play. I mean, They're not going to be 110% every night, but how are they going to get better and how are they going to gel with this team and make an impact if you're not putting them in?
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what approach they take.
Yeah,
They've
I
got
mean,
a lot of
you've
work
got
to do.
Maroon. He wants to come back. You've got guys like Steen, who's another one. I mean, where did they see him? Where does the organization see him?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that, again, was getting decent time and then just kind of faded away. Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard to, I don't know. Do they see him as a fourth liner? Like, does he need to go elsewhere to get another chance somewhere? Like, sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery for guys.
Of course. And I mean, is it because you're not fitting into the systems? Is it like you're just not gelling? And I think it's tough too when you look at it, because is Beecher your 4C? I think Beecher deserves a spot. And of course, it comes down to how training camp goes. But you've got, if Maroon comes back, you've got Lauco, like a revolving door of guys, and they need to focus, I think, internally on filling those bottom 6 roles, but they need to address the 1C. And that's scary.
It is, because it's one of the most difficult probably positions to grab because the price is high. And going back, there are guys in Providence that that I've talked to that I'd love to see get a chance.
Absolutely.
Again, Mark McLaughlin. We've seen Trevor Kuntar. Like, these guys, I'd love to see them get opportunities. And obviously, what's going to happen with Fabian Lysell, Merkulov? Like at this point, I think it's like shit or get off the pot at this point with Fabian Lysell, because what are you gonna keep him in Providence another year? I just don't see that happening. They gotta give him a chance at some point.
And I think that is really what this training camp comes down to. I mean, you've got Coyle, you've got Zacha. So then it's like, okay, if you bring in a 1C, like, I don't know, just say an Elias Lindholm. So you've got Lindholm, Zacha, Coyle, Beecher. Like, where is Lysell fitting in? And I think that's the biggest problem, is he's had injury trouble. I think he was very undisciplined not too long ago. He gets very frustrated. But if you're not going to give him the chance, move on from him.
Yeah, because some other team will take it. Like, again, the reason he didn't go late in the first round because of his skill set. That's not why he fell in that draft.
Right.
We don't have to get into details why, but I mean, you go read about it. There's a reason why he fell in that draft, and it wasn't because he wasn't the most skilled player.
Of course. And I think
the skill is there.
I think it's tough. I think you look at it, and if you're a casual enjoyer and you understand it a little bit, you're sitting there saying, why isn't he up here? Like, why didn't he get a chance late in the season? Why didn't Merkulov get a chance late in the season? And I think development camp and training camp this year are going to be huge for just figuring out where they're going to plug these holes. And really, I mean, what do they need and who can you trust in the organization?
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm excited for dev camp. I'm excited for all this stuff to happen. I'm not ready for hockey to go away, but listen, we're coming up on 47 minutes, and like, this is well over what I thought we would. This has been awesome, honestly. Like,
absolutely,
I can just tell right away when you kind of vibe with someone, and obviously I could talk hockey for hours more.
Absolutely. I think we could bore everybody with 1,000,001 conversations.
Yeah, I mean, listen, your knowledge of the PWHL, getting to talk about your photography, the incredible work you do. Again, Carpets, it's such an amazing time getting to talk hockey with you, and hopefully going forward, this is going to be a normal thing for us.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you again for coming on, and that wraps up episode 45 of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. Can't believe we're 45 episodes, and it's kind of crazy coming up on a year. But yeah,
very deserving. You're crushing the game.
I can't thank you enough for the kind words, all the support along the way. And like I said, I hope we can make this a regular thing.
I would love that. And I'm very, very happy for you. I love what you're doing. I love to get just to be a little piece of it. And I really hope we can keep doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to make this happen. So thank you guys, as always. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you next week. Take care.